There's a specific kind of person almost everyone knows and might even be. The friend who always knows exactly the right thing to say to make you feel better. The one who notices when you're struggling before you even say anything. Endlessly patient, endlessly kind, to everyone except themselves. Ask them how they're doing and they're fine. Ask them what they'd say to a friend who made the mistake they just made, and they'll say something gentle, understanding, forgiving. Then ask what they actually say to themselves in that exact same situation, and the tone changes completely. Psychologists studying self-compassion have found this isn't a contradiction. It's actually a very specific, very common psychological pattern. And understanding it explains why kindness toward others and cruelty toward yourself can live in the exact same person without ever seeming to cancel each other out. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how this split forms, why it feels so normal to the person living it, and stick around till number 4, the twist that reveals kindness toward others might actually be feeding the self-hatred instead of balancing it out. Stay till the end, because the final section explains what it actually takes to close this gap. Let's start with the psychological term for this exact pattern: self-compassion asymmetry. When someone can extend genuine empathy, patience, and forgiveness outward, while applying a completely different, much harsher standard inward. Researcher Kristin Neff, who pioneered much of the modern research on self-compassion, found that this isn't rare. It's actually one of the most common patterns in people who score high on empathy toward others. Being able to accurately read and respond to someone else's pain requires real emotional skill, but that skill doesn't automatically transfer inward. Compassion, it turns out, isn't one single ability. It's a directional skill, and for a lot of people, it was only ever built pointing outward. Here's the uncomfortable question this raises. If you have the actual capacity for deep compassion, clearly, since you show it constantly to other people, what does it say that you've never once pointed that same capacity at yourself? They're not out of kindness, they're just distributing it somewhere it was never allowed to land. Here's where this gets genuinely interesting from a developmental standpoint. Psychologists studying internalized voice patterns have found that the harsh inner critic most self-hating people carry rarely originates from within. It's usually an internalized echo of an external voice from earlier in life: a critical parent, a demanding teacher, a bullying peer, a culture that equated worth with achievement. This process is called introjection, when a person absorbs someone else's judgment so completely that it eventually feels like their own authentic inner voice, rather than something that was originally said to them by someone else. Here's what makes this especially cruel. The very empathy that makes these people so kind to others is often the exact same skill that let them absorb criticism so deeply in the first place. A highly attuned, sensitive nervous system doesn't just pick up on other people's pain with precision. It also absorbs other people's judgment with equal precision. The same wiring that makes them a wonderful friend also made them a perfect target for internalizing every harsh word ever aimed at them. Now, here's a piece that explains the specific split perfectly. Being kind to other people carries almost no psychological risk. It's socially rewarded, it strengthens relationships, and it doesn't require confronting your own internalized belief that you might not deserve the same gentleness. But self-compassion is different. Psychologists have found that for people with a deeply internalized critic, being kind to themselves can trigger something called compassion fear, a genuine physiological discomfort or even threat response when self-directed warmth is attempted. If your internal narrative has run for years on "I don't deserve gentleness," the first attempts at self-kindness can feel foreign, undeserved, even fraudulent, like putting on someone else's coat. This is why telling someone with this pattern to just be nicer to yourself almost never works on its own. It's not that they don't understand the concept. It's that self-kindness activates a genuine internal alarm system built over years, while kindness to others never has to pass through that same alarm at all. If self-compassion has ever felt strange, undeserved, or almost embarrassing to attempt, comment "same" below. This reaction is far more common than people admit out loud. Here's the twist I promised you, and it's the piece that reframes this entire pattern. We tend to assume kindness to others and self-hatred exist side by side, unrelated, just two separate traits that happen to coexist. But psychologists studying compensatory behavior have found something more entangled. For a significant number of people, kindness toward others isn't separate from the self-hatred. It's actively fueled by it. This shows up as a specific pattern called compensatory caretaking. Being excessively kind, helpful, or self-sacrificing as an unconscious attempt to earn worth that the person doesn't believe they already have. Every act of kindness becomes a small, unspoken transaction. If I'm useful enough, good enough, giving enough, maybe I'll finally feel like I deserve to exist. The kindness isn't fake. It's often deeply genuine. But underneath it, it's also quietly doing double duty as evidence gathering for a self-worth case that never actually gets closed. The twist is this: the constant outward kindness doesn't heal the self-hatred. It often keeps it perfectly intact because it never requires confronting the belief directly. It just keeps trying to outrun it through good deeds that can never accumulate into enough. Did that reframe something? Drop a below if you've ever noticed yourself being kind to someone, partly to prove something to yourself without even meaning to. Next, let's talk about the specific thinking pattern that keeps this cycle running, what cognitive psychologists call the double standard distortion, applying one clear, rational, compassionate standard to everyone else, and an entirely different, distorted, unforgiving standard to yourself, without noticing the inconsistency. Ask this person to evaluate a friend's mistake, and they'll reference context, intention, and circumstance with real nuance. Ask them to evaluate their own identical mistake, and all of that nuance vanishes, replaced by absolute sweeping judgments. I always mess this up. I'm just not good enough. This proves something is wrong with me. Cognitive behavioral therapists specifically target this distortion because it's remarkably resistant to logic alone. You can't simply reason someone out of it because the person already possesses perfectly good reasoning. They use it constantly, just never turn it toward themselves. The fix isn't teaching them empathy. They already have plenty. It's teaching that skill to finally include themselves in its scope. Last insight, and I think it's the one that actually matters for change. Research on self-compassion interventions has found that the gap doesn't close through willpower or simply deciding to love yourself more. It closes through something smaller and more specific, consistently applying the exact same standard you already give others, to yourself, in small, repeated, deliberate moments. Not grand declarations, just consistent redirection. The skill was never missing. That's the part worth sitting with. Someone who hates themselves but is kind to others isn't lacking compassion. They have an abundance of it. It's simply been aimed in one direction for so long that redirecting even a fraction of it inward can feel like learning an entirely new language. When really, it's a language they've been fluent in the whole time, just never once spoken to themselves. So if you're someone who's endlessly kind to others but harsh with yourself, you're not broken. And you're not lacking empathy. You have it in abundance. It was likely shaped early by an internalized critical voice that was never actually your own, protected by a very real fear of what self-kindness might feel like, and quietly fueled by kindness that's been trying to earn worth you already had all along. Closing that gap doesn't require becoming a different person. It just requires finally including yourself in the compassion you've been giving away for free. And if you made it all the way here, through a full psychological breakdown instead of scrolling past, That tells me something about you too. You're someone who actually wants to understand yourself, not just keep taking care of everyone else while quietly running on empty. That's exactly the kind of mind this channel is built for. Every week I break down the hidden psychology behind everyday things, habits, relationships, the way people think without even realizing it. If that's your kind of content, hit subscribe now, because next week's video digs into something even more surprising. And honestly, I think it might explain you even better than this one did. See you in the next one.